G'day and welcome to the 2019 NRL Grand Final preview. It's the Sydney Roosters, the red-hot favourites, up against the fairy tale team, the surprise packets of the season, the Canberra Raiders, at ANZ Stadium on Sunday. The Raiders, of course, feature three Englishmen, three of the best: Josh Hodgson, Elliott Whitehead and John Bateman. And it's the English players that hold a very key component to this Raiders if they're going to upset the Roosters. Josh Hodgson is, of course, the Raiders co-captain, and I'm expecting a huge game from him, and he needs to be at his best if the Raiders are going to triumph. In fact, the two Joshes are the keys. Hodgson, with his scheming out of dummy half, his ball playing, his scoots from out, his long kicking, he'll be looking for 40-20s, but also his short kicking game, and just his defence, like his tackling last week was immense. While Josh Papali is the other key player. If the Raiders are going to win, he'll just about be man of the match. He's been the best prop in the NRL in 2019, and his one-on-one matchup with the returning Jared Warrior-Hargreaves will be mouth-watering. If there was a roof on ANZ, they'd blow it off. These two will go at each other, and this is where the game could be won and lost. If the Raiders are going to win, Papali has got to lead from the front and just bend the Roosters back. The Roosters have one of the best defences in the competition. But also the Raiders, their defence has been sensational all year, especially their scramble defence, and they're going to need to scramble big time. They were a little bit nervous, a little bit loose last week against the Rabbitohs, and they can't afford that again this Sunday. The Roosters will be looking for a fast start to try blow the Raiders away with their inexperience in grand finals. So the Raiders need to stick with the Roosters for the first 20. If they can manage that and limit the damage, or even get in front, they'll throw the Roosters off their game. And one thing the Raiders are really good at is rocking teams out of their rhythm. They will get in. They want to drag the Roosters into a street fight, and this is where the Englishmen come to the fore. John Bateman and Elliott Whitehead love nothing better than a scrap, and they are the key players because it's on the edges through Joey Manu and Latrell Mitchell where the Roosters are dynamite and where they'll look to punch holes in the Raiders. Now, Joey Leilua has the massive job of containing Latrell Mitchell. He was a bit loose last week in defence. He was breaking the line. Cody Walker was turning him inside out and all sorts of problems. Leilua has to be on his game, and he's a real rocks and diamonds player. But in turn, if Joey can get on top of Latrell is a bit flaky in defence, and Joey, as we know, Joey Leilua is a beast with the ball. So if he can, come out with the right attitude, not give away silly penalties, he could be a talisman for the Raiders along with Josh Papali. And Bateman and Whitehead are the keys to containing Boyd Cordner and also helping out their little men on the edges with defence, because the Roosters will just keep punching. Now, the Roosters forward pack. I think the forward pack just about cancel each other out. The Roosters have Warrior-Hargreaves, but the big key for the Roosters is coming off the bench. The Roosters have an amazingly strong bench, a lot of depth. They've got Siosiwa Taukeiaho and Angus Crichton barging off the bench. Crichton was one of the Roosters' best players last week. He turned that game when the Storm were coming hard in the second half. And TKO, well, if he plays the game that we know he can, combined with Warrior-Hargreaves, they could KO the Raiders and wreck the fairy tale. Now, the backs are a place where I think, as I've said, with Mitchell and Manu, the Roosters have an edge. So there's a big job for Jared Croker and Joey Leilua to negate that. The halves, another great matchup, but look at the experience there. Luke Keary, the Clive Churchill medalist from last year, and Cooper Cronk. It's his 9th grand final. It's his last ever game. He's like having a coach on the field. He really stepped up last week. Keary is carrying an ankle injury, but Cooper Cronk stepped up last week and was sensational. Not only his leading the team around, but his defence was unbelievable. And he will be wanting to go out with a 3rd consecutive premiership ring, which is just amazing. Early ball is the expectation for the Roosters, and Cooper Cronk and Keary will want to give Mitchell and Manu plenty of room to move. If the Raiders can get in their face and put them off, I think it's game on. The defence, as I said, has been the cornerstone of their success this season, and they're going to have to be on point, the Raiders. No one can be off their game. Everyone has to be on their game, and this is where Jack Whiten and Aiden Caesar are crucial with the ball in hand and without. We know Whiten is a great defender, so no worries there. But Aiden Caesar sometimes can have a little bit of trouble tackling his man. That's where he'll have a bodyguard next to him in the Englishman. But Aiden's got to step up, and also their kicking games. You saw last week Josh Hodgson really took control, and watch, he'll do that again to help his men out. But Aiden Caesar was a little bit off, and I think he needs to be on if the Raiders are going to win. A lot of pinpoint bombs to the corners could be the key to the Raiders getting tries, because the Roosters' on-line defence is sensational. They're going to think that they've got the Raiders measure, but the Raiders are unorthodox. They'll pop balls from nowhere. We know when they ruck it out, they're just going to go straight down the middle, but I wouldn't be surprised. The Raiders were a bit nervous last week. That was a massive game for them at home in front of a sellout crowd. A lot of expectation. I'm expecting the Raiders to be a bit more relaxed this week, which might sound a bit silly, and I think they might throw the ball around a bit more. Look for an early shift out to their left when rucking the ball out, because the Roosters are going to compact their defence, knowing that the Raiders just... They do the most dummy half runs in the competition. Watch them to go wide early. I just think it's a surprise tactic that the Raiders should do, or an early kick and chase. And they've got to pin the Roosters down consistently, especially in that first 20 minutes. The Raiders need to be composed, because I think the Roosters are going to try and win this game in the first 20. Now, as I said, Cooper Cronk, amazing player last game. Now, he may wear the crown of the NRL, but Luke Keary is the king. He is the player that gets Latrell Mitchell into the game. He sweeps around both sides of the ruck, and he's the man that the Raiders have to watch. If he's on, and if his ankle's okay, the Roosters are going to be very hard to stop. So Keary is the man that the Roosters will be looking to light up their amazing attack. Now, the one difference, though, that I find between the two teams, and it's the man who will make the difference in this one, I think, James Tedesco. He's won just about every award going this year. He's having the best year of his career. He's the best player on the planet, even though I always say he's maybe the best player on the planet, but Luke Keary is the most influential. But James Tedesco is the man who can just find something out of nothing. And I think in a tight one, he could be the man that will make the difference. And he's my tip also to be the Clive Churchill medalist. So this should be an absolute ripping game. It'll be a great atmosphere. And the tips for this week are...
Raiders! Raiders! Go Raiders! They're gonna win. Raiders! Come on, the Raiders! Let's go!
And me? Well, I'm predicting the Roosters are going to go back to back and break my sons and daughters and my niece and nephew's heart. I'm tipping the Roosters to win by 7 points. Thanks for watching. I've got one more video to go. Enjoy the grand final. Should be an absolute cracking game.